10 a.m. Here we go. Going to Poland. It'll be interesting. Get ready to move there and we'll see what happens. Alright, so we're here at something called MRU, Misierzik, Regenwurmlager, something. I'll get to what it's called later, but see, it's behind me there's the Soviet military site. Former Soviet. Tank T-72. I think maybe a little older than that. I'm gonna hold this out here. We're trying to figure this out. A bunch of people here. Dzień dobry.
This pin, right?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to this bunker over here, over there. And the bunker was built between, I believe, the 19th, you said, when was this thing built?
About 1925.
1925 up to, you said 2.5 years it took them to build the whole complex. The complex is about 36 kilometers long. The area we're doing today is about 2 kilometers. So you figure a 5K is 3 miles. So 2 kilometers, yeah, if you do all the math, about 1.5 miles or so.
We're going on the train on the ground also. That's going to be interesting.
By the way, I haven't introduced him. Yeah, this is Polish Man Travel. He's got his own channel, and he's one of our linguists where I work. And he decided to come along, help me out. He's got a pretty good channel, 6,500 viewers. We'll put a link, and you can subscribe to him. But we're gonna go in the bunker, and I disappeared.
We're going deep.
So yeah, how deep?
About 30 meters underground, about 11 floors.
So 11 floors deep, and 30 meters. Oof. So you figure 30 meters, that's every 3 feet. 3 times 30 is 90 feet. So that's the deal. Here's the countryside. We're on a good little guided tour. These are wheat fields. That's wheat there, yeah, for sure. I want to take a second to introduce Magda, our tour guide. She was extremely knowledgeable of the overall complex, and even though she spoke mostly Polish and was fluent in English, between her and Eric interpreting things, the trip was just spectacular.
So we stopping here just
bo powiem wam, jak daleko w terenie my się w ogóle będziemy poruszać, jak to wygląda z góry ta perspektywa. W tym obiekcie sobie zejdziemy te 30 metrów pod powierzchnię ziemi, przechodzimy następnie kilometr na zachód pod tamtą linię drzew.
So we're going 30 meters underground and we're going underground to that trees there.
I tam czeka nas ta kolejka i my będziemy mieć jedynie korytarz prowadzący do tego miejsca, ale 18
Okay, there is going to be another place where we're going like this way, and that's the farthest point we're getting to.
Został zostawiony surowy plac budowy.
But it's
Także
all
te parę
underground.
punktów orientacyjnych nie wiedzę z tyłu.
And it's all underground. Everything except a few pillboxes here and there. These pillboxes were the indicator of a massive complex below. 36 kilometers worth of tunnels, 18 train stations, a series of narrow gauge railroad tracks, an aircraft engine repair facility. This was all the things that were underground and much more. The Soviets came from the east and they almost decimated these pillboxes, except they were made from some sort of plastic type cement. We'll discuss that a little later in the video.
So they were coming exactly the road where we came. There was train tracks over here. They just unmounted the train tracks also.
They've taken away the tracks, okay.
Yeah. So the Russians get through this place and they went straight to Berlin. But there was a lot of guys that were still left in the bunker. A lot of Germans.
They didn't know it was as big as it is.
Yeah. It was not easy to get in.
No, I imagine.
You're saying there was a lot of young soldiers who wouldn't have a clue what they're doing, you know. They couldn't read or write.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so the Wehrmacht was making the biggest problems for the Russians to get through it. Like this place wasn't really hard to get through. They kind of took it over in about May or June. So about, 5-6 months it took to take over this place.
Yeah. So I assume this metal. It looks like it's concrete, but
What?
this thing.
This thing?
Yeah.
It is, yeah. It's like they call it like a special material that will absorb the shock of the impact. Yeah.
Because you can see where the rounds hit the thing. I mean, that's obvious.
203 millimeters they were shooting at it.
Ale jak widać, znowu ten kaliber próbuje aż tak dobrze radzić z tymi kopułami, bo to były pociski burzące, które w sposób ten betonowy.
He's saying that there was a special mix with the concrete that it makes it plastic. Yeah, soft like.
Ale też dlatego ta cena jest generalnie bardzo
So it is concrete.
It mixed with something, yeah.
Okay.
Because they said if they used 203 on it and it was pure concrete, they would knock it down immediately.
Sure.
But once it's plastic like that, elastic like that, it's just difficult to do it.
Yeah, nothing on the backside.
Yeah. So this is a flamethrower, and before to use, they had to cover all the holes in it because there were soldiers inside. So they covered the holes in, and then they released the flamethrower.
Przylepiała i on był ładowany z takich 120-litrowych
Like a
nabojach.
grill.
Taki jeden nabój na jakieś 10-15 sekund do strzału wystarczył, także to była broń skrajnie paliwożerna. I w ogóle nieekonomiczna, no ale traktujemy to jako ostatnią deskę
So
ratunku.
a lot of fuel and
Jeżeli chodzi o to wyjście tam,
so it wasn't economic at all.
wyjście ewakuacyjne, prowadzi się do pierwszej kondygnacji, do środka każdy będzie mógł sobie na to normalnie zepchnąć, ale te wejścia ewakuacyjne miały być używane przez strzelające Sopona, było skonstruowane po to, żeby oni się psychicznie lepiej czuli, że jest jakaś ostatnia droga
So they
ucieczki.
built
Bo
the ways
ewakuacja
out,
tunelami na dole
like the
to jest
evacuation
najlepsze,
points, but they
najbezpieczniejsze
were
i to ma
only
swoje
built for the
mechanizmy, o czym
soldiers
sobie
to
na dworcu
feel
powiemy właśnie.
that they have a
Bo
way
tamto jest
to
dopiero widoczne,
escape, but it wasn't
ewentualnie
easy to
wejściem
escape at all.
głównym, żeby
It was
to
built
na
for it
wtedy
to
dostać
feel them
z
good.
obiektu na zachód, nie tutaj prosto na
You can
wschód.
try if you want, but
Także zajmowało według instrukcji
Sorry.
około 3 godziny ich użycia, bo nie było w ogóle żadnego...
Alright, so now we're getting ready to go inside this thing. See a little hole over there? That's Magda, our tour guide. This way, there it is. That's the hole. We're going to go in. So she's going to talk about that. You see it's a little crouched down there.
yeah, you can go in.
We'll go right on in.
Good.
that's super bright, but that's okay. Look on the wall, see, it's an ammunition room. So they had a mortar in this thing. The mortar was back the other way, back through that hatch there. This was essentially the ammunition room for those mortars. So earlier I mentioned the mortars. This is where the mortar thing was. Shot the mortars up. A little crazy seat there. There we go. That's the seat for the mortar. Where they show the ammo. There. Of course, the ammunition. Over here. You gotta remember, this thing was built in 1925. Really kind of interesting. They were preparing for war long before they started. And this was built by the Germans in 25, so now we're going to go down deep into the underground. We're talking, you said 30 meters, yeah? Yep. 30 meters. Here we go. Remember, what goes down must come up. That's true. So originally they were going to have an elevator here, but they weren't able to complete it. These two pipes are modern. That's ventilation for the facility. You see it's a little cold. Go ahead. What about it like?
How much concrete was used here to build this?
Say again?
How much concrete they used to build that whole concrete?
Oh yeah. It's a lot of concrete. I'm gonna have to bring my dad here when he gets here. This is really something. Wave to the camera.
About 6 feet.
Yeah, about 2 meters tall, 6 feet. And then if you look, you can see how high this thing is behind me. The light's super bright. It's okay. You can see this pretty big structure. And it's all underground. This room was just a small indicator of the massive size of this complex. There were railroad tracks and rooms with corridors going off in every direction. It was completely mind-blowing, the size of this facility, and to think it was built almost 100 years ago. 27 meters deep, we're there. And ultimately here, this is the big red line, the defenses, and then the Soviets came from the east to the west, and this was the defenses for that. So everything faced that way. And it ran from Wrocław, which was Breslau back then, all the way up to Skupsk. This is Zagan, where if you've ever watched the movie The Great Escape, that's where that prison camp was. This 36-kilometer long tunnel was the only piece that was completed as part of a plan of a line of defenses that would stretch from Wrocław in the south to Skupsk in the north. These defenses would include tunnels and different water features to stop the Soviet troops from advancing from the east. So we're walking in this thing. There's a little bit of an echo, and I have no lights on. You can see the light. Those are people way, way in front of us. They're probably, I venture to say, 50 to 75 yards out in front of me. where the light is, and there's another person in front of me. Of course, that's Eric. He is about 50 yards out. And we're going to keep on walking. It's really kind of strange, I'm not going to lie. As I squat down, you'll see the light gets a little brighter because way back there, this whole tunnel is on a slope for drainage. What does it look like inside the tunnel right now? Let's take a good look. There we go. You can see tunnels off to the side. That's a cart. Still, the light is not the light at the end of the tunnel. The light is somebody else in front of me. Now it's truly the light at the end of the tunnel. If you listen, you hear the loud rumble of the train that we'll be riding in. Life. Is it the light at the end of the tunnel, or is it a train? We're about to find out.
That was pretty loud, right?
That was great.
He's saying they need to resolve it. A lot of experience.
Y'all, let me tell you what, I can't tell you how loud this train was. It was a fantastic little trip, but oh my goodness, the noise was just deafening, even if you covered your ears. If you ever decide to do this thing, make sure you bring earplugs. Would you believe some of the most popular manufacturers today actually made weapons of war during World War II? For example, Mitsubishi made the Japanese Zero, which attacked Pearl Harbor. Volkswagen made the Kübelwagen, which is the precursor to the Volkswagen thing. And Daimler-Benz, well, they made aircraft engines. Aircraft engines which happen to be manufactured and repaired right at the MRU underground. In the aerospace industry, aircraft production was better suited to mass production than engine production, which required large machine tools. Lack of manpower, especially skilled manpower, was the main reason of providing special single-purpose machine tools. As a result, the employment of forced laborers and low-skilled prisoners increased significantly, accompanied by brutal controls and repression. This is a representation of where the Daimler-Benz aircraft engine facility was. Behind me, down the tunnel behind me, is where the train is that we just got off of. And then in this area and other areas within here is where they would manufacture the actual airplane engines. Up here on my left, soon where all those people are, we'll see one of the engines. Now we're going back down the tunnel that we first began. You might be able to see the light there behind me. And again, this is about a 2-kilometer walk. This thing slopes up ever so slowly, and then behind us somewhere, maybe we'll look at the map and I'll show you, is where there's an entrance basically to the side of this thing that you could actually drive vehicles into. Those main tunnels back there that we were in with the train and whatnot earlier is definitely a place that you could drive a vehicle in. It's a pretty sizable facility. Compared to other facilities and other forts, this one's probably the biggest one I've ever been in, to particularly include underground facilities. Some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. Others, well, it's just a mystery and shall remain so. So it's a pretty amazing thing considering that it was built 1925 through 1935 for about 10 years. It's just astounding. Definitely a place to come and visit. Definitely a place to come visit, but what goes down must come up. And we came up the stairs to a room where the doors were blown right off the hinges by only who I can imagine would be the Soviet troops looking for Germans that were left over after they had already taken the facility. Look at this. Oh, it's so bright. So here we are, we're at the end. And this is where we go out. Up these stairs. Back to the sunlight, back to the daylight. And she shuts the light. And that's where we started, way over there. Way over there, and they came back and here. So overall, pretty interesting. Cool little trip. This is the flamethrower. I believe it's this hole. I'm not totally sure. We'll have to figure that out and see. But what an amazing place built by Germans in the 1920s in preparation for war. I've spent about 30 years in the military. Actually, I've been around it 31 years. And I've been all over the world, with the exception of Asia. But this is probably one of the most interesting places I've seen. You know, I'm standing up on top of this hill and you see the trench below me, you can see the stairs, you can see the tank traps in the background. Up on the hill over there, you can see where we started, and we just spent 2 hours underground, and we covered only 2 kilometers of a 36-kilometer underground facility. This is kind of amazing. It's nothing like I've seen, and to think that where we were it's all 100 years old, just right about 100 years old. This stuff's kind of amazing. I'm glad that war's long gone, and hopefully where we are now, as I said, I'm here in Poland, and just back that way is you know, the war in Ukraine. or the special military operation, depending on who you ask. So it's interesting and it's very thought-provoking. I hope you enjoy my little tour. Thanks.